Alrighty, welcome back to Unwrapping the Dumpling. So this is our podcast where we unwrap the topic of stigmas within the Asian community on mental health. So for this part, we're going to be kind of having a little discussion within the four of us. So we have Bryan over here, Jocelyn, and myself, Tim. We've introduced ourselves. So we're going to introduce Sienna over here. So if you can introduce yourself, what you're in, what major, and kind of what your careers are after graduating.
Okay, hi, my name is Sienna. I'm a first year, so I'm a freshman right now. I'm currently a psychology major, but I'm planning to switch to psychobiology since my career goal is to become a psychiatrist. So
Nice.
the pre-major requirements for psychobiology is more aligned with pre-med. So yeah, that's why I'm considering.
So you're going to be doing a pre-med?
Yeah, because that's the only
awesome.
way to become a psychiatrist.
Yes, that's awesome.
There you go, yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So we are going to be going through the same questions that we asked Lillian earlier. And I think it'll be great to kind of talk amongst ourselves. These questions, I'm going to share our own experiences as well, since we kind of had her answer most of the questions earlier. So first is really, why do you all think that we have lack of Asians in mental health care? Whoever wants to start.
I mean, it's definitely big on career stigmas within our culture as well. And like I said earlier with Lillian, it's finance is a big thing. And I feel like a lot of Asian parents and especially immigrant parents, they see this idea of mental health careers as non-existing, or it's not real to them, the typical doctor, lawyer, dentist, pharmacist, if it's anything outside of that scope, they're like, you want to do that?
Yeah.
What's that?
I can see that. And also like my parents didn't know, I mean, of course, immigrant parents, I think in general, they did not even realize there's a difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist. They think it's the same thing. The way I have to explain it to her, because there's no separate word for a psychiatrist and a psychologist in Chinese. There really isn't. It's just a heart doctor is really what it is in Chinese.
And that deep stems within the culture as
well.
And because it's not a prevalent topic within the culture, they haven't made a word for it.
Correct. And the way I have to explain to my mom is a heart doctor that prescribes medication and a heart doctor that talks to people. That's the only way I can describe to her the difference between the two.
No, absolutely. It's the same way in Vietnamese. We have one word for doctor. It's called bác sĩ.
Yeah.
And so whenever you're describing something else, you're this is the doctor you go to when you're sad.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Oh, also, Sienna, what's your ethnic background?
So I'm Chinese. I was born here, but then my parents were from Hong Kong, so I was raised in Hong Kong the entire my life, but I went to an international school, so it's kind of the same as high school in America, and I transferred to America during my sophomore year of high school.
Got it. Okay. So you kind of like Lillian. So I think Lillian finished high school in Taiwan, and then she came back afterwards. So that's interesting. That's a different path. So what do you think, Sienna? Why do you think there's a lack of Asians in mental health care?
I feel it's totally parents not showing their child that mental health is a problem. They're always encouraged not to speak about it because some people, when you speak about mental health, they just think that you're weak or maybe crazy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a really high stigma in it. So if children are not exposed to this during their childhood, they might just never know about it and never get into the field of psychology or mental health. So yeah, they just don't want to be stigmatized and probably Asian parents feel doctors doesn't really include psychologists or psychiatrists. They usually associate it with physical illness more than mental.
Oh, I love that actually.
Yeah.
When I told my dad I was going to be actually I told him years ago I wanted to be a psychologist, and the first thing he said is you got to be crazy to fix crazy people. So you're not crazy, you don't have to become a psychologist. Is what my dad told me. So if that gives you any thing about stigma, that's the very first thing that came out of his mouth is you got to be crazy to fix crazy people.
Oh yeah.
Which I was like, Dad, you're kind of crazy too. So, but that's what do you think, Jocelyn?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I come from a low income background. So growing up, honestly, the only career options that my parents would put in front of me was you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, or you can just starve on the street, basically.
No, yeah.
And I've always been interested in psychology, but I never knew it was something that I was allowed to pursue.
Yeah.
It's just never been on the table. And my parents they haven't, like, I haven't told them yet that I even want to pursue clinical psychology,
funny.
which is crazy because I'm a 4th year. So at this
that's
point,
crazy.
I'm going to graduate in like a couple of months, and they're still
Yeah.
asking me, what are you doing post-grad? I'm like, oh, I'm just going to get a job. So they still don't know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, why a lot of Asian, like, children don't even want to tell their parents because they're scared that
Yeah.
their parents aren't going to approve of them.
How do you think that conversation is going to go? Like when
my
you talk to
my
them?
mother recently finally got diagnosed, actually.
Oh.
So I think she'll be a lot more supportive now
Got
that
it.
she's in that, like, space.
Gotcha. Oh, that's very interesting that you
Yeah.
haven't told them yet.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, like my parents were like really supportive when I wanted to pursue
lucky you.
psychology. Yeah, like they weren't really against it. Like they really supported me. They know that they wanted me to get into UCLA. Like I also want to get into UCLA because they have like a really good psychology program.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been interested in psychology since like high school because we have electives, and like I chose psychology. Like I didn't really know what psychology is, but then like I immediately fell in love with this subject, and like I even love clinical psychology more. So like that's how I got into psychology. And stuff.
That's amazing. And your parents are actually very supportive.
Yeah, they're really supportive.
That's congratulations. We love that. That's a new beginning. Hey, that's a new age. I feel like some of the newer Asian parents maybe are starting to recognize the importance of mental health. And
Yeah, my dad went to high school. Like I mean, he went to college here, maybe so he's
that's
more
a
like
big
Okay, for
difference.
sure, yeah.
That's a
exposed
huge
to stuff
difference.
like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think more so like immigrant parents aren't the ones that are like getting it right. So like if he went to college here, he probably studied psychology in college too. So he probably understands a little bit more.
Yeah, he probably did.
So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's the next question is what made you all, want to pursue a degree in psychology, or if for you, like what makes you kind of want to get involved with psychology because you're in the CultivAsian club. So
Yeah, for sure. I just to touch on what you said earlier, Sienna, it was just like that first time you had like that psychology class. I feel like for me, growing up, mental health wasn't as prevalent for sure. I came from like immigrant household,
yeah,
a bunch of it, and I remember like always being like now that looking back, like I feel like I was a very emotional child, but I wasn't like my emotions weren't like addressed, you know. And the second I took a psychology class, I kind of had this like aha moment, like, oh my gosh, this is a real thing. Like people go through this, like it's not just me.
yep,
Because I feel that in these kind of households, it's like you're in your own space. And if you like, also to touch on earlier, like my mom would see me like sad, but then she wouldn't ask if I was sad. She'd be like, "Are you sick? Do you need medicine?"
It's
like
your phone.
I don't know. And it's just this whole stigma, and I just want to be able to like put the information out there and just to put the idea out there so that people are more aware and definitely just address it.
yeah,
For sure.
I love that. Yeah. And what about you, Sienna?
Like when I took the psychology class, I figured out how relatable psychology is to our daily lives. Like it's not like biology or like chemistry or like other science. Like I can't physically see it. Like I can't see what the atoms are doing or like what's happening inside my body. But like for psychology, like I especially love clinical or behavior psychology because you could literally observe it in your daily life. And like whenever I like learn a concept and stuff like that, I always relate it to my daily life, and I love it when I can see it everywhere. Like it makes it so much more easier to learn.
That's
Yeah, like this. Sorry.
No, go
Like
ahead.
there's this big aspect of like
Yeah.
this relatability, and when you find a relatability in anything you're passionate about, it makes it that much easier to want to pursue it and educate yourself on it.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm very similar to Bryan growing up. I'm a very sensitive person. So, like, growing up, I always felt everything very, very deeply. So I think mental health has always been a cloud to me, but I just never knew what it was.
Yeah.
And then I took AP Psych in high school, and I was like, wow, like, this is real. Like, this is something that people, like, spend time on and go to school for. And then now, especially, all of my friends are pre-med, so they don't really take psychology classes. They take, like, biology classes. They take chemistry classes. So every time I'm, like, studying for a psych class, they're like, oh, that class isn't real. Like, that class is fake.
Wow.
Most of my friends usually make fun of me for that. And I'm like, if only you guys understood how important this is to, like, everybody. Like, this is important to you guys. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's why I'm very passionate about
That's
psychology.
amazing. I don't think you guys were last week when we had our like hangout afterwards, I shared, like, somebody asked me how old you are. Like, nobody can guess my age. So I'm actually in my 30s. So
Okay.
this is not my
Really?
first career choice, or,
Sure.
you know, I've had a pretty good career. I was an executive for a makeup company, a skincare company that had, you know, I managed a big territory, had a great job, but I actually decided to quit my job completely and then come to school full time. And I did community college for 2 years when I was working full time. But then I, you know, decided when I got into UCLA, I quit my job and then just now work for part time so I can pursue psychology. And the reason why I wanted to do it for two reasons. One, I had a lot of childhood trauma and a lot of like family trauma as well growing up. So, and that kind of really manifested into my life in my 20s. And I had pretty hard years in my 20s. And I want to say that over that decade, I really kind of worked a lot on myself. Again, no guidance, right? There's no guidance from my parents, no guidance really from any mentors. So it's really a lot of like self therapy through my 20s, and I felt like I got through a lot of it. You know, kind of what Lillian was saying, you got to get through your own shit, you know, before you can move on to helping other people. So with those 10 years, you know, I really felt like I did get through a lot of my shit, and now I feel like I can help other people. And that's kind of my first reason. And the second reason was really because I didn't see my career as fulfilling. You know, I hate to use the word purpose and fulfilling, but that really is what it is. Like, I couldn't see myself going another 30, 40 years from here and you know, retiring and have just made money or pursued, you know, status, and that was it. So this is why I wanted to pursue psychology. I wanted to do something where I can look back when I retire that there's like I made a difference in someone's life. You know, it doesn't matter who, but you know, I want to make a difference in someone's life.
That's, I feel like it's a big aspect in a lot of people's like yearning for careers. Is this, this idea of wanting to help others, right?
Yes,
or like just making an impact. For
yeah,
sure.
and
like,
and I try to do that in my career as well by, you know, mentoring people and coaching people and different things like that. But it just didn't feel right. I felt like I can do more. You know, I feel like I was already a therapist in my other job, but I just want to get a degree and actually be, you know, get credit for it.
Credible, yeah. For sure.
So that's a big part of it as well. But yeah, that's why I want to go into psychology.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what did y'all parents think when, you know, more so question for you all, like, what did your parents think when you told them about psychology?
Yeah,
you haven't yet, so.
What I've been telling my parents actually is that I've been pursuing marketing, which isn't
Oh my
true.
goodness, I love this.
Wait, no, the thing is, it's not false because I was pursuing marketing for the first half of my college years, and
Yeah.
I actually only just recently started saying out loud that I wanted to pursue clinical psychology.
Yeah.
So the words are still very foreign to me when I say it out loud.
Got it.
But just like hearing your story, like I'm just really happy that we're all like in the same room right now. But
no.
yeah, I think my parents, they know that I'm pursuing psychology as a degree, but they know that I'm going into marketing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, you can still go into marketing with psychology, and then
No, I don't want to go.
you don't. It's a very it's
A lot of it has to do with, I think, like finding your purpose, which is a very cliche word to say.
yes.
And every time I ask my friends for advice, they always tell me you should go the practical route. You're going to make a lot of money in marketing. Why are
Yeah.
you pursuing clinical psychology when you don't even know how much money you're going to be making as opposed to marketing?
Yeah.
And
I can see that from that perspective 100%. And I'll tell you, as an older person, not that much, but you know, that there is a certain point you will hit in your career where you're like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah,
Why am I still here
exactly.
chasing money? You know, you have to do it for yourself. At the end of the day, I think it's what's going to, you know, work for you, because you have to do the same job for the rest of your life, which people don't get that. You know, people are like, I'm going to go into this job, I'm going to make lots of money. But when you're doing the same thing every single day and you don't find a purpose in it, it does get to you.
I think what Lillian was touching on earlier too is just like the self-awareness that comes with psychology. And I think I'm really glad that I think I know myself enough today to know that I won't be happy in marketing in the long run.
That's great. I mean, pursue what makes you happy. You know, that's the best. And you'll live longer that way too.
And I do think that is an American dream, to be able to say that you're pursuing what you want and not what you
Yes.
need to do for your
No,
family.
absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Money's only money, like after a certain extent. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. And what about
Yeah.
you, Sienna?
Well, I mentioned earlier that my parents were really supportive of it, but like, my dad is like really supportive, but like he keeps searching up information, like difference between a psychologist and a
I was
psychiatrist.
gonna ask, is this why you want to be a psychiatrist? Because you make more money?
Well, that's
okay.
half of the reason, but like I feel like this is my own thought, but like psychiatrists, they could like prescribe medication, and
Yeah.
I feel like it would be more effective.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. And I kind of want to work in like a hospital setting too. Like,
Okay.
like I don't really want to have my private practice. Like, I feel like that's too much. Like, I gotta handle like the business and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I don't think
for
I want to
sure.
do that. I kind of want to work in a hospital setting and like treat. Like, I don't know if I'm really prepared enough to treat like seriously ill patients like schizophrenia and stuff like that.
You will be.
But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's also a reason why I want to be a psychiatrist instead of psychologist. But my mom, like, she was raised in Hong Kong like for her entire life. She's not that like, I'm not saying that she's not supportive, but like she's not as enthusiastic as my dad in my career choice. But like she still supports it and like wants me to be a psychiatrist. Like she's fine with that, but maybe not like as happy as my dad, I
Gotcha.
guess.
No, I love the different perspective as well, that you want to work in a hospital and not have your own practice. So to those people out there who's thinking about careers in psychology, you can do both. So you can pick where you want to work, and if you want to have your own practice, if you don't want to, then you can work for a hospital. So I think that's great that you actually have that career, because I actually thought a lot of people who study psychology wanted to have their own practice. So this is great that, you know.
I don't know, I just feel
someone-
like it's annoying to have your own
Yeah.
business.
Hey,
like
that's
that.
There's
different
a lot of
perspective.
I gotta
aspects.
pay rent and like all that stuff.
You're like, I'd rather just make money and go home, which is great. No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we'll skip you out on this question since
No
you're
worries,
not.
yeah.
You're, well, what did your parents think about you doing, sociology and pre-law?
I think it's there's a lot of different perspectives from my family, because I have like most of my dad's sides, they were raised here when they were really young, like within like their when they were 5 or 4, so they've been assimilated a lot to the
Got it.
American culture, but they still like hold within them this Asian perspective that, like, when I told them I was pursuing like social science, like I didn't really know if I wanted to do sociology or psychology, and they were
Yep.
like, why are you doing that?
Why are you not in STEM?
STEM? Yeah, like I honestly, when I first applied to college, I was an economics major.
Got it.
I was planning to go into business or marketing or just studying the market. I honestly really liked it, but I feel the idea of psychology and sociology really spoke to me a lot more, and it really hit me deep within. And then I had a counselor within my community college, and working with her, she worked in what we called like the EOPS, like the Extended Opportunity Programs and Services. And so she worked a lot with underprivileged communities and like first generation Americans, as well as like she worked a lot with immigrant parents. And she was telling me that it's a really great career path. Like you fulfillment, just to touch on that, like there's a lot of fulfillment with it. Like for me, I chose it because it just, like, to put it bluntly, it spoke to me.
Okay. No, I love that. I think by the end of this podcast, we're going to make him a psych major. But yeah, that's awesome. So, but you still want to pursue law, because you just mentioned earlier about like your family having a lot of,
there's a lot of legal, like marital issues,
Yes.
legal issues as well.
Yes.
Like I remember just last year, my mom got handed with this fat stack of papers.
Yep.
And these legal terms, and like she was flipping through it, like I don't even know what I'm looking at. All I see is I have to go to court. I have to get a lawyer.
Yep.
I don't even know what this is. And I also wanted to be more educated within the legal department as well. It's like, I don't know if it's like necessarily I want to become a lawyer, but I know there's a lot of different careers I can go in with a JD as well.
Yeah. And I love that it stems from like wanting to help your parents, which I think a lot of what we do kind of comes from that, because, I think our culture is so, like, our parents are so important to us. So
No, absolutely.
yeah, and that's amazing that what you want to do, it stems from that as well.
Yeah.
So that's great. So I guess our next question is really like, why does mental health matter to you? I think this is a very kind of personal question, and however you guys want to, talk about it, and how. Do you want to start, Jocelyn?
Yeah, I think for me, my mother's always been a very strong figure in my life.
For sure.
I look up to her, right? But at the back of my mind, my mother recently got diagnosed with depression. And this wasn't something that she was able to deal with until I went to college.
Got it.
And then also my best friend from starting middle school, she also has depression. But because of everything that's just happened in between there and here, I just feel like I've been so I feel helpless, as in I can't really help them.
Yeah.
And at times I feel confused because I think it's really easy to not resent them, but you just feel at some point that you can't really, like you said earlier, you can't be your friend's therapist. Like I can't be
Yes.
my mom's therapist, right?
Yep.
And I want to be that person for other people, and not even just in pursuing a career in clinical psychology, but just understanding that mental health is real, because it's not the same thing as like treating a wound. Like, what are you even treating?
Yeah.
What are you treating? Like,
That's also why I love it.
what are you treating? Like, what are you
That's
treating?
really also
right?
why I love it. It's because like you can't tell, like what she said, you can't see an atom, right? Like what you're doing with it. But that's also why I love it too.
And I think just mental health, everybody has their own personal tie to it, and it's just something that I think just needs to be talked about more.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Like for me, you know, I feel like growing up, like for me, it's a lot of generational trauma that I really want to help change, because I feel like, not to put my parents out there, I think both of them had their own mental health issues, and a lot of that translated to us, like me and my sister. So like I said, I went through a lot of that in my 20s, you know, dealing with a lot of, and my parents had no idea how to deal with that, and they only kind of knew how to deal with their own. They don't even know how to deal with their own issues. So it kind of translated to me and my sister, and you know, my sister is a lot worse than I am. She's in her mid-20s now, but she's probably been diagnosed with everything in the book, and you know, she really has, and she's on a lot of different medications, and I see her going through her issues, and obviously I can't do much because it's just I'm not in the place to help her, because my parents don't know what to do with it. So that's part of the reason why I want to help others, is because I think we can kind of change a lot of that generational trauma. And you know, I remember that I saw this video about like how to fix generational trauma. It's just like a glass of like dirty water, and you keep pouring clean water into it, right?
I saw that,
Right.
yeah.
Eventually it gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. And I feel like if I can be part of that change to educate, and so that, you know, people can learn how to deal with their issues, and therefore not passing it on to their, you know, their kids. And it's so important, because I think that's the best way to kind of fix that, especially in immigrant parents and
for sure,
you know, and minorities.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, wait, what was the question again?
No, why does mental health matter to you?
Mental health for me.
Yeah.
For me, it's a lot of. I remember like talking to my mom. My dad wasn't a part of my life for a good chunk of my life.
Yeah, same here actually.
Yeah, so I'm like the older sibling, so a lot of that, his responsibility fell on me.
Yes,
and
same here.
Growing up, I had a lot of trouble like managing like a social life while also like helping my mom at home. She's always working, and then I'd be just basically help her raising my siblings. So I have 4 siblings.
Yeah.
And then
Dang.
I remember I had a breaking point, right? And I just like couldn't bear not being around my friends anymore. And then I felt like I had depression. I didn't really know it at the time, but I just was really sad and really upset at like the world more in general. And then I remember like my mom came home from work, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I really hate life right now. Like, I don't know what to do right now. Like, you're putting so much pressure on me.
Damn.
And then I just remember like my mom, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I remember seeing her cry for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it just like struck me that like, I kind of forgot that my mom like had her own emotions, you know?
Wow.
Like, and I feel like that's a big thing in a lot of like, not just Asian families, but a lot of families as well. Like, you kind of forget your parents have emotions.
Yes.
And this idea of mental health. But I like to speak specifically on my mom, like, she never really shared her emotional trauma. So I had a lot of problems with my dad leaving.
Yeah.
But I forgot that was the love of her life that left as well, you know? And so like, she never really talked about it. And I really wish she did. And this whole idea of mental health, like, I know I was depressed, but like, I don't really know about my mom. She doesn't know about therapy. Like, if she had therapy, do you think like she would have felt better, that she would have approached our family better? And so that's like kind of where I want to be. Like, the idea of mental health, I've seen a lot of my friends struggle with it, and me personally as well. But this, like, being on a platform like this, being able to communicate, that's like a blessing to me.
Yeah.
I really want to inspire others and just keep the idea moving out there.
I Love that. No,
Yeah.
that's great. And then I mean, your mom sounds very strong. It's just, she sounds like she kind of took a lot of that on herself. So
Yeah, she did.
That's amazing. That's really, really awesome. But yeah, I think if they would have known more about mental health, I think it would have helped her. It would have helped you guys as well.
Absolutely.
I had the opposite experience. Like my mom like made us her therapist, and she knows
Yeah,
everything. Like I was
same.
talking about this where we became, and I think a lot of our issues came from that. But I wish she knew about the resources she could have had and maybe learn, because I don't think she ever knew how to deal with her own emotions. Till today, they've been divorced for 20 years, and I don't think she still holds a lot of resentment, and she doesn't know how to deal with that.
Wow.
So I wish she would have known therapy younger, and back when she needed it. So, what about you, Sienna? Why does mental health matter to you?
I think I struggled with mental health the most during COVID because, like, I was separated from my friends, and then, like, everything was, like, online and, like, at home, so I didn't really get to, like, socialize that much. But also, like, during that time, like, when I was, like, a freshman in high school or, like, 8th grade, I had, like, a lot of stuff to do. I had to balance my academics, and I'm also, like I do karate, like,
Wow.
really competitively during that time. Like,
I would have never guessed, but that's amazing.
but I've done
That's
it for
awesome.
like 15
You can kick
years.
my butt.
15 years of my life. But yeah, I got like practice, like, and school. Like, so I basically wake up, go to school, and then like practice, and then like it was really stressful for me. Like, and also there's like so much schoolwork. Like, I feel like in like Hong Kong, like, even I went to an international school, their schoolwork is still a lot, and then we also had to do like exams and stuff like that. So I was like doing a lot, like not sleeping, and then like barely have time to socialize on top of COVID. Like, so like so I feel like I put like a lot of stress on myself, like, because there's nothing else I could do. So I could the only thing I do is like study and like practice karate. So I wouldn't say I have depression, but like I definitely was like feeling really sad and like kind of motivated. Like sometimes I was even thinking like, why am I doing karate? Like, I'm not making a career path out of it.
Yeah.
So, but well, now that I'm in a better state, I know that I'm doing karate like for my physical health or like fun. I've done it for like 13 or 14 years. So
Wow.
it would be sad if I just give up and stuff like that. But yeah, during that time, I was also studying psychology at that time. Like, it was my first
That's perfect
time
timing.
taking psychology. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I kind of realized how like actually my mental health is important. I gotta like relax, and like not everything is like I'm fine now. Like I feel like like during that time when I was like really sad, I was like, oh, so what is my future gonna be like? But now like everything works out. So
Yeah.
I feel like mental health is important. Like, you gotta take a break and like make sure you don't overstress yourself, because eventually everything is gonna work out. Like, that was also me during like the college application seasons. Like, sometimes I get rejections, and then I get like depressed and like, okay, what am I gonna do? Like, a few months later, like, where am I gonna be? And now I'm here, so
Hey, everything works out. Exactly.
Yeah,
I love that. Everything
It'll all
works
be
out.
fine in the end.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of wrap things up, really quickly, what suggestions or what kind of, how do you want to inspire other people to kind of consider a psych degree? I'll go first. I would just say that, I think we all have something amazing to offer, and in this field, you can kind of find a way to help people. And to help people on a different level, and in a field that is still kind of a little bit unknown. We don't know so much about the mind, so there's so much more to discover. And yeah, you could be part of that. So I would say come into the psych field.
I think my advice is actually, it's not for people who are interested in psychology, because I think anyone who's interested in psychology will end up in psychology.
For sure.
It's for people who are very hesitant to believe in psychology and just mental health. I'm not even like telling you to switch into it. I just want you to take one psychology class, sit there, and instead of like making fun of it, actually listen. Like, just listen and see how much you can learn, like, not only about yourself, but also like the people around you, and it'll teach you how to be so much more kinder.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
I was like, for me, shoot, what's the question?
I love this. So suggestions, or kind of, how to inspire other people to kind of enjoy psychology.
I feel the field of psychology it's like a lot of it's talking, right? And talking is something anyone can do. And it's a field where you can heal people, heal their wounds, not physical, but like
Yep.
more mental, right? It's like with physical wounds, you can see it. You'll hold a scalpel, you'll have a Band-Aid, but talking about psychology and putting the idea out there, you can really, it reaches more people more than you think it would.
I
you
love
know?
that. Yes. Sienna?
So my advice is like psychology is like a really broad field. Like you don't have to be a therapist. Like I feel like that's what most people associate with like a degree in psychology. You're gonna be a therapist or a psychologist. You're gonna like heal people with clinical problems and stuff. But no, just like you said, you could go into marketing with a degree in psychology and there's so much stuff you could do with psychology. Like I would say, yeah, take a psychology class, like see what it's like. That's how I fell in love with psychology, with a psychology class. So yeah, just like you don't really have to be like, oh, certain that okay, yeah, I want to be a therapist, and that's the only case that I could go into psychology. But no, like, yeah, just try like maybe a minor in psychology would also be great. So it's really applicable, I would say.
Thank you all. Jocelyn, Sienna, and Bryan, thank you all for being so vulnerable. This has been a great conversation. I just love how vulnerable everyone is. And, you know, we were able to get together and speak on the topic of psychology. So
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you all very much.
Thank
and we're
you.
going to wrap up. We're going to wrap up Unwrapping the Dumpling. And this is it. Thank you all very much.